Welcome everyone to another fantastic episode of Hourglass More Than Tits and Ass. I am your host, l.shima, and it's episode 9, and there is actually something I'm excited to share, honestly. I was trying to think of what my week was like, and truth be told, it wasn't like amazing, there was things that happened, but not well worth telling about. But one of the biggest exciting things is I wanted to mention is my sister will be a special guest on July 19th. So that will be exciting. It will be definitely different. Hopefully she doesn't flake on me. She shouldn't, because she's coming into town on the 18th and staying with me for the entire birthday weekend of mine. And so the 19th is a Wednesday, and I figured, hey, might as well ask you if you want to be my guest on one of my episodes. And she said, sure, LOL, smiley face. And knowing my family, that means hell fucking yes. Well, at least that's how I perceive it. So, yes, everyone, my sister will be a special guest on July 19th. So, if you want to know some very embarrassing facts about yours truly, then I highly suggest you tune in for that episode. Otherwise, you're gonna miss probably a lot of interesting things. And you get to see my sister, if you're always just wondering about that, and how much we don't really look alike. So, yeah, that'll be fun. All right, well, I'm from Detroit. Hey, everyone on Instagram and everyone on Twitch as well. We're going to get deep into it. There's nothing else that I really had to share. So this week's episode is going to be about social interactions. I kind of mentioned having on Twitter, Twitter fans basically choosing last week's episode between doing my makeup and getting shoot ready or talking about social interactions. And so obviously the shoot ready kind of won a little bit. So I felt like this week especially, I wanted to just really get in tune with my thoughts on social interactions, because I deal with it on a daily. I'm sure a lot of y'all have to deal with it on a daily, and everyone is kind of from different parts of the world, of course, and like in different environments, and social interactions are never the same, but they kind of follow same situations and awkwardnesses and like finding friends and being shy or being very like party kind of type. So I was just going to kind of hit on a few notes just to kind of get my thoughts on what I've dealt with, and to also hear y'all's thoughts. One of the things about my podcast, Hourglass, is I like to hear from y'all, everyone that's tuning in right now. That's why it's live versus it being pre-recorded and posted on YouTube or SoundCloud. I wanted people to actually tune in and interact with me as best as they can. So I'm not pressuring you, but if you do have a thought that you want to share, go ahead, and yeah, let's get right into it. So to just kind of bring people back in, just in case, what I do for a living is I'm a model. I do it full-time, so it's my only job, and I'm also independent, meaning I don't have an agency or a manager. I don't even have a booker. Like, I do all of that stuff on my own. And I enjoy doing that aspect of modeling. It keeps me on my toes, it challenges me, and I get to basically interact with a variety of individuals throughout this career of mine. And the only concern that I have is with this choice of lifestyle that I have, a lot of individuals get their friends or acquaintances through work or through school. Going through grade school, I had friends. Everything was fine and dandy. People I would hang out with over the weekend. Some people I would get in trouble with. Others would just be a nice little chill session. But overall, I had people to talk to. I didn't go to college, or hopefully my mic is not too loud. I didn't go to college or of any kind. I kind of just went immediately from graduating high school to working 2 jobs, and then going straight into the modeling path. I never actually really sat down at a university or a community college or anything along those lines. And so me having a friend from a school system wasn't really an outlet that I could have. I still technically had my friends from public school, but especially now that I live in a different state that is at least 5,000 miles away or so, I kind of lose contact with them. And I'm also kind of that person that doesn't really constantly keep up with everyone. I might text randomly one day out of the blue moon, but otherwise I kind of just keep to myself a lot of times. Hey, Amanda! What do you do when you're starstruck? Not necessarily a celebrity, but someone you look up to and are trying to approach a positive conversation without making myself look like a fool. Oh my god, you're literally speaking my boat, honestly. I don't do very well with, like, going up to somebody, especially if I don't necessarily know them as much. Even if somebody, like, introduces us, I still have a hard time socially-wise kind of striking up a conversation, and I'll get deeper into, like, how I work and what makes my brain function the way it is. But I personally, like everyone else would say, just be yourself and do your normal thing. Don't obviously try to be in their face, of course. And I mean, everyone reacts differently to everyone else. You know, you might come to me and I think you're amazing, but the next person that you meet might think you're a horrible person just by that first interaction. And as long as you're nice and you approach them with respect, I think nonetheless people should not have a negative towards you. Obviously, if personalities don't mix, then that's an obvious reason why people don't like each other. But that's never necessarily your fault. That's just who you are, and that individual just didn't really clash with you. Meeting like a famous person or a celebrity, I have no idea. I've not necessarily met a celebrity or a famous person. Kind of, sorta. I actually worked on a movie set 2 years ago, and Corbin Bleu was the actor, and that was kind of awesome. He was a really sweet guy, honestly, too, on top of it. And weirdly enough, he remembered every fucking person's name. Even my name as a costume design intern. Like, somebody that's, like, low on the levels of, like, you need to know. He literally, the first day I met, shook his hand. Later, at the end of the set, he's like, hey, bye, Shima. Or he used my actual real name. And I was just kind of shocked for a second. I'm like, what? That's so amazing that you remembered my name. And I'm literally, what? Okay, anyways. But nonetheless, I think he was probably the closest celebrity, famous person I've ever met. But yeah, I'll get more into deep about just my interactions and how I deal with just meeting new people and just people I even know in the first place. But yeah, not having a job or not going to college kind of kept that social aspect away from me. I was never able to have friends from a college, part. An example using Francis, a lot of his friends that he has are from his art school that he went to, and he'll still keep in touch with a lot of them. So with me, that's one of the aspects I kind of missed out on, and I would love to go to school at some point whenever I figure something out that I really want to go to school for and pay money towards. But for right now, it's not necessarily a need. So yeah. And then the other issue that a lot of people, not issue, but another outlet that people find friends is having work, being at a job, and just being surrounded by them. Basically thinking of The Office, because I'm currently watching that entire seasons. You're surrounded by those individuals at least 5 days a week for roughly 5 to 8 hours, and you're gonna have to see them a lot of times. Even if you may not like them, you're gonna have to be around them and socially interact with them. So a lot of times you end up developing friendships through your work. The only downside with that is my job realistically requires me to be at my desk 24/7 every single day pretty much. So I either sit here or I stand at my standing desk. Very rarely, because a lot of individuals think that models go to shoots every single day and is living this glamorous lifestyle, which I'm sure Naomi Campbell and Cindy Crawford are, but individuals and models like myself aren't really living up to that glamorous style. And so I'm not shooting every day. If I am shooting, and if you don't know, I'm on a hiatus from modeling, but prior to all of this, if I was actually working full-time modeling, I would be shooting roughly maybe once a month if I'm lucky, and roughly that's 3 hours for that one shoot. Sometimes it's hit and miss, sometimes it's a little bit less than that, other times it may be more, but averagely it's 3 hours once a month that I'm around other people. So it's really hard to grab friends in that lifestyle, right? Like, I would feel like that's kind of difficult for somebody to grab on to a friend in 3 hours times. And don't get me wrong, I have a lot of photographers that I do consider a friend. It's just they're at a friend at a different level. They're not the individual that I will call just to go chill with one day, because either one, they're miles away in a completely different city, or two, they might not be that friend that I felt that real connection with. They were more like a hang buddy here and there, or maybe just a work buddy that I just get along with at work, and that's all realistically that I get from there. Thanks, girl. Loving your hourglass. Thanks, Amanda. And better change a higher rate with that amount of work. Yes, and it's indeed true. So when it comes to me and socializing, especially me not having a work friend, and why is my door opening? Yes, I got my rug. Oh, yes, I'm excited. Okay, I'm going to save that to the end. But, so since I don't have a real job, like yours and your Francis, since I don't have a real job and I never had college experience, and I never had those friends, for me to find social people to talk to, just people in general, I have to go search for it. And that is a different world. Basically, when you're a kid, you don't think about really friends like that as far as like finding them. You just go to the playground and just kind of latch onto somebody that seems cool enough to like be around, and kind of eventually hope that y'all exchange words if you even talk as a child. And I'm sure some kids might be, a little different to that response, but overall that's the basic idea. You just are stuck in a classroom or stuck in a playground, and you kind of just go from there. As an adult, it's a little trickier, and I realized it's almost like dating in a sense. And I've technically, weirdly enough, I haven't necessarily dated. I kind of did, especially with Francis, but again, that was like 7 years ago. So me trying to date to find friends is ridiculously weird, but also kind of interesting, but at the same time, like, really uncomfortable. So one of my ways of trying to meet new people was, especially when I moved to different cities, that was a great excuse. You're in a completely different city, you don't know anyone, you wanted to branch out and try to get to know people. And I, a lot of times, would have just branched out to models, local models in the area. I did that in Florida, and I did that here in Detroit. Florida, unfortunately, for some damn reason, all of the models never wanted to meet me. And there was a couple, actually. There was one that fully did meet me, and there was roughly two that said they were going to want to meet me, but they never actually, made it happen. And so it was very weird. The 2 years that I lived in Florida, I didn't have really any friends at all, other than Francis and our roommate. Other than that, yeah, it just was kind of almost like a depressing time. I didn't have anyone to basically talk to in that sense, because that's usually what a friend is there for as well, is somebody that you can just talk to and hang out with and just be yourself and not necessarily be attached to your boyfriend or your girlfriend or significant other, or whatever the case might be. So when I came to Detroit, I did the exact same thing. Figured, models understand me the best, so let me just surround myself with other models, because they know what I go through and they can understand, and we will have conversations that we can both relate, and yada yada yada. So I reached out again to a variety of different models in the Detroit area, and I specifically remember the first girl that reach back and it's like, hey, yeah, let's meet up at this place and, go from there, basically. And everything was fine and dandy, but as I started hanging out with them more and more and more, I kind of started realizing that they really weren't, they basically didn't connect to my personality. And I am very easygoing, I would like to think, and very nice and just simple. I don't expect a lot from people, even if it means hanging out, sitting on the couch and watching The Office is perfectly fine with me, or even going rock climbing at a gym is perfectly fine with me, or even working out in general in the hot ass sun is okay, I wouldn't really like love it, but I'll still do it. If somebody invites me to like go work out in the sweating hot sun, I'm like, sure, why not? Let's try it. Never know, I might eventually love it at some point. So I feel like I'm very easy to work with in a sense. And unfortunately, the first person I met in Detroit was just not on that same level. And I eventually found out the hard way. I'm not going to get into the deep stories or even name drop, of course, but I kind of learned from it and kind of backed away as best as I could. So the next individual that I found as a possible friend, I would personally try to invite them to do things with me, such as going to play tennis or go to an opening somewhere or just go have coffee somewhere as well. And I noticed every time I invited them to do something, they kind of like disappeared on me. They never really like responded, or if they did, they would say that they were busy for whatever reason, and they may have been busy. But every time that they would reach out to me to either go to an opening or just chill out their house or whatever the case might be, I was always available, and of course I'm down for it. I'm like, yeah, let's do it. I'm totally fine with just hanging out with your house. And so I started to notice like I couldn't really create a friendship with them because every time I tried to open the doors, they kind of just like disappeared on me, while they only reached out to me when they specifically needed something or wanted that gal pal moment. And I kind of took me a good 2 years to realize it, but I just eventually started to notice like I don't need that, and that's definitely not helping my case of finding friends, basically. So, been wanting to shoot with you for years, got to New York City, found out you were in Detroit. Yes, I'm in Detroit. Come to Detroit and you'll see me. But yeah, so making friends here for myself was very difficult. And a lot of times, for a while, I thought it was me. Like, I knew deep down inside, I feel like I'm a good friend. Like, I'm not trying to also be conceited, but I, like, truly feel like I will listen to people as long as they're not going too gossipy. And I will gossip right back if that's what they want. I really don't like gossiping, but I can do it if it's required. I don't know. And then on top of it, like, I feel like, again, I'm easygoing. Like, you could literally do anything and I'll be down for it, except for killing animals or killing humans or anything like along those lines. I'm not fucking for it. But, nonetheless, I'm usually down for most things. And so for a while, I thought it was just because of me. Something about me was the reason why I couldn't find any person to hang out with. And especially with the idea of girls, using that as an example, I thought maybe it's just girls in general, and maybe I just don't get along with them because every girl I've met hasn't really, like, hit a spark, basically. And I felt like I always got along with guys a little bit better. I just felt like they were a little bit easier to talk to in a sense. But Francis, informing me that a lot of guys, though, sometimes want more than friendships, and sometimes it's really hard for opposite sexes to be friends. And I know everyone has their different cases and stuff, but using The Office again as an example, we'll talk about Jim and Pam. Perfect example. Jim kind of wanted more than friendship, and Pam kind of at that moment in the early stages, and I know what happens, but nonetheless, kind of didn't really not necessarily want, but didn't feel right doing it more than friends. And so that was kind of the case that I was going with, was just finding a girlfriend has been very difficult, but also finding a guy friend isn't necessarily going to be as easy as one would hope. And then the stereotypical, let's just find yourself a gay friend. It's like, well, I'm not going to just, like, randomly go to gay bars just to find a gay friend. Like, I kind of want that more mutual, just as much as mutual finding a girlfriend and or a guy friend that actually doesn't want to, like, hook up or anything. So with girlfriends, I felt like I needed to really find somebody, though, because I'm a girl, and girls are different than guys, and sometimes we need to just share if we are having our periods and we just want to cry together or eat a tub of ice cream, whatever the case might be. So I'm trying to think where I'm going with this, but I kind of was starting to think that all of the girls I was meeting was my fault. That something about me was just not attracting the right people. Then I started thinking, no, I'm wrong. I know I'm awesome, as conceited as that might sound. But I think it really came down to the modeling world. And I'm not trying to speak with all models. Every model is different. Again, I'm a model and I feel like anyone can come up to me and talk to me. But some models might be a little bit trickier than others to get along with because, especially in the industry, some think of it as a competition. I don't understand why, but they do. And I felt maybe it was that aspect of it. That's what I was missing, was just getting to be friends with models was maybe something that isn't really truly for me because I am so different from your stereotypical model and even your stereotypical girl in a sense. I just felt maybe that was where I was hitting rock bottom, and not really rock bottom, but where I was hitting a wall basically. And I am honestly pretty shy. So like Amanda, you were mentioning about, meeting somebody or going up to somebody and talking to them, especially if they're like a celebrity or whatever the case might be. I'm pretty shy. And some of y'all might be like astonished by that, especially photographers that I've worked with. When the work me comes out, I can be very social, especially if I'm put on like me and a photographer in a room with just me and that person. I will be social, especially a lot of times since I'm here by myself a lot. I can use that as an excuse to just start talking and not stopping a lot of times. But I've noticed over the years that I'm shy unless it is on a one-on-one basis. So again, if it's just me and the photographer, I do a lot better versus if I'm at a party and there's 5,000 other people there, or even if I'm in a group hangout session and there's like 3 to 5 people around me, I feel like it's a lot harder for me to socially engage with others because of, the worry that, well, what if I say the wrong thing? Or I'm not sure what they like, so I don't want to talk all night about dogs. One of the examples that I've tried actually to kind of work on basically is at my gym that I go to. There would be other people there and working out and doing the same thing. And usually a lot of times when I'm working out, I don't necessarily like really talking. But there are times when I notice that this could be a perfect way to interact with other individuals, especially people that live around the neighborhood and people that aren't models. And so I started to actually notice one individual every time there was a moment to kind of hang out for a second. She would always oh, Shima, how was your week going? Or do you have any plans? Or just start asking me questions along those lines. And I would answer, but then I would get to the point where I felt like I was constantly talking that I started feeling bad. But at the same time in my head, I'm like, I don't know what to ask you. And then I'd come back and tell Francis about the story, and he'd just ask him literally the most simplest questions well, what are you going to do for the weekend? Or, the weather's looking nice or something. And when he would say it, I'm like, my gosh, why couldn't I think of that immediately right then and there? That's so simple. Why couldn't I engage in that conversation like that and ask those questions? But a lot of times when it comes down to it, for my sake, I kind of just start running the game of I want to be awesome. I want you to love me as soon as you see me, and then I want you to love me more as soon as you hear me talk, and I want you to love me more when you hear the words out of my mouth and want to just hang out all night. Of course, that's not the case, but that's what I usually immediately want to aim for, is just basically I want to leave the conversation with that person enjoying who they just talked to and having no negative thoughts towards them. And then I think it also hurts me in my mind that my English, as y'all may know, is not it's not perfect. I mean, obviously nothing is perfect, but I will make up words. I will scramble things to where they don't make sense. I will use a word that doesn't even exist, or it does exist, but I mispronounce it so hard. And so I feel like my speech is very not successful as much as I would want it to be. And it's one of those things I kind of like have to obviously accept how I talk and let it slide and do the best that I can and fox it. That's all I'm given. To the point where, like, an example is interacting with our landlord. I've never felt like I can actually really connect with her because she's on a way different level than I am. She's actually won awards for being basically the best teacher and like academic teacher in like the fucking world, I feel like. And like, so she's way more academic, like kind of to the book and using fancy schmancy words that I didn't even know exists and things along those lines. And me trying to interact with her, I feel like I'm a little bit different and like more of a wild card and not making sentences that are right and things along those lines. So I really really focus on my thoughts a lot, to the point where it kind of scares me to talk to people. And I always joke to like my social media and on like Twitter and stuff like that. If, say, you're a fan of mine and you think I'm amazing and beautiful and whatever adjective people use to describe me, and you see me at a party, or not even that, say you just see me at a coffee shop by myself alone, and you just want to, like, you see me from afar and you want to, like, come say hi to me, but you may be scared to do that. I always say, don't worry, I'm probably more scared than you are. Because it's true. Like, if somebody came up to me, I would be super nice about it. Like, unless they're being really weird. But a lot of times, even if they're weird, I still, like, kind of show, like, a smile. I'm like, oh, yeah, kind of thing. But nonetheless, I'm always really nice in person. And when somebody comes up to me, just randomly, I kind of just acknowledge it and kind of try again to be a good experience in a sense. And especially like if not even thinking if they're trying to like hit on me, because they're not going anywhere with that, but if they're just generally trying to like say, hey, you know, I've met you or I've seen you from your social media, I will literally start blushing if it comes down to that. If you've seen my work, I start kind of like getting a little awkward a little bit. But overall, I'm super nice and I try my hardest to kind of basically show that. And I'm the type of person that it's going to be a hard part for me to go up to talk to somebody, even if I did see their work, or even if I didn't even know who they were and I had to go talk to them. One of the things that I've been meaning to do is create a zine and go cater to it to all of the local brands and clothing companies and all that fun stuff all around Detroit. I'm hellish scared to do that because talking to even a manager or even just an employee there is very intimidating to me. And it's just a very weird interaction that I have with my brain. There's nothing wrong with me. It's just I overthink it a lot. And again, I just want people to love me, and that's what I'm trying to aim for. And I know you're not going to have everyone love you. That's a known fact. There's going to be people that are going to hate you. There's people that hate me. I am sure of it. But overall, that's just my first intention is, okay, I want to leave this with them loving every aspect of me. Oh my gosh, I just spent 3 minutes looking for my phone while listening to your channel, like to realize your channel is on my phone. You are glorious. So I'm always worried of what I'm going to say and how that is going to reflect on how I meet individuals. So knowing about my social interactions, I, at the gym, went to a community gym day where they basically open it up for free and let just the entire community come in and work out, and then they had a potluck, right? And it's super awesome. The actual trainer that was here in episode, I want to say that was 6, I think 6, I don't know. On one of the past episodes, the trainer, Tara Castro, was here, and that was her gym. And so once a month, she opens like a potluck community workout. And so this past month, I ended up going. And I've gone to a few other ones, but I don't do as well. I never really stay that long, or if I do, I have still a hard time socializing. So this time around, knowing my background and what I've experienced, decided, all right, I'm of course go to the community workout because I need it. And then I'm going to stay for the potluck as long as I feel comfortable. And, I've already been to this location and I've met a lot of the people so far. So I kind of didn't feel out of place necessarily. But again, socially wise, I've never really super talked to any of these people hardcore. And some of the people I've actually never spoken a word to other than hi and smiling at them. So as soon as the potluck started, I just immediately grabbed a coffee and sat outside, because I thought with my idea of one-on-ones and especially using parties as an example, I like being the first person there. I'm very timely, so I come on time to almost everything, but especially with parties and gatherings, I prefer to be as early as I possibly can without being too of that weird person. Because if I'm the first one there, then the next person comes in, I immediately grab their attention because they're the only one I could really talk to. Then when a second person comes in, okay, then kind of turns into a little mini group. But then when there's more people that come in, of course, to that point, there's going to be too many people where I can't talk to everyone. But I've already started a good conversation with a few people that I feel more secure and able to socialize. Versus if the party already started and there's 50 people and I'm thrown into that group, where do I go from there? Who do I choose? Who do I go up to talk to? And again, like I say, I have a hard time just going up to somebody and randomly talking to them. So at this potluck, I decided to just sit by myself and wait for that first person that came out of that place with their pile of food. And I know I was hungry, but I was going to wait until I finally got a few conversations in. And exactly the same concept happened. A girl came in, I've never met her, never talked to her, and just started talking to her about the weather or the workout or whatever random thing that was happening. And then another girl just happened to join in the conversation, and it kind of went from there. Then I've got two guys I've never met before, introduced myself to them, and we kind of talked about Detroit and Austin and all these other random things. And at that point, I eventually figured out I had to get food. So I kind of was like, I need to go eat real fast. So let me just kind of break from this social interaction and hope that I can find myself back when it comes time. So fortunately enough for me, there was a person that worked out at the gym quite often that I've actually seen before and may have said hi and had a quick conversation once or twice. But this time around, I do believe he actually started the conversation. He's like, hey, I've seen your podcast with Tara. Or no, he's like, no, are you the one that had the podcast with Tara? And I'm like, yes, I am. He's like, oh, I saw that. And then another girl's like, oh, I saw that too. And at the same time, I'm like, I started blushing because I'm like, that's insane. Because I don't know realistically who watches these podcast episodes. I see y'all, but still nonetheless, I don't know who really watches it or tunes in or even what people's thoughts are towards the podcast. So hearing people that I see on a daily basis listening to this is always amazing. Clairvoyant, before she moved from out of Detroit, we went to a party and she mentioned that she watched one of the recent episodes from that week, and I was just like, oh, I was never expecting you to watch any of the episodes, or even Stephen Crossan, or even Under Allay and all these other people that I've met and had interactions with. I'm like, oh, that's really fucking awesome that people really watch these. But yes, nonetheless, I put myself out there in this social interaction at this community potluck, and I literally aced it like nobody's business. And then when there was moments where the guy ended up leaving and having to go do something else, I literally just sat by myself. The sun was glorious and rays were right on me, and I kind of just sat there. And when I would overhear somebody's conversation, I would try to not be obviously inappropriate or anything, but I would just try to oh, really? As I am, obviously pointing out that I'm paying attention to their conversation and hoping that I can, be part of it. And so I left that potluck feeling so proud of myself because that's kind of outside of what I normally do. And so another thing that I started to kind of dabble in, especially when it comes to, finding friends and people to meet and around the area and stuff, is, my therapist, actually, she informed me of an app called Bumble BFF. So you may or may not have seen ads. It depends on what app, like Hulu or no, Netflix. So it would have to be Hulu or something. But this app is actually a dating app, like Tinder and stuff. And I've never used Tinder. I don't need to use Tinder. But at the same time, this app is geared towards that for significant individuals to meet people and start being lovers and whatever goes down and dirty with that stuff. But they had a section of the app where you can only find friends, but they had to be the same sex. So it's kind of weird because, like, especially if you use, like, the idea of, like, oh, why don't you have a gay friend? Like, a gay guy friend. Well, I can't because I'm not a guy, and so I guess the gay guys don't get part with the girls. I don't know. Anyways, nonetheless, so it's only girls, but that's totally fine with me. And so I downloaded the Bumble BFF, and it was just so weird because it's exactly like Tinder from what I've been told from shows and stuff, but you literally have like your app, say this is my huge ass phone, and you swipe, you swipe left if you like them and right if you don't. But this app, and I'm again sure Tinder does this too, but I have never been on it, you have a collection of images, so you about like have 5 images of these individual girls, and then at the end they write like what school they went to or college and what area they live in and a bio about themselves. Some girls, and it bugs me, but some girls don't even write a bio. So when I see that, I immediately swipe right because I'm like, I don't know anything about you to feel comfortable hanging out with you. Like, I don't know if you like cats more than dogs. If that's the case, then, I mean, I feel like we'll be okay. But overall, I really love dogs. So, like, I kind of need to know some things. And I started to use that app, and I've met actually a number of different girls around the area that have been really interesting and awesome, honestly. I've hung out mostly at coffee shops and food places. I haven't really went super deep, and I haven't necessarily found, like, my BFF yet, but I found people that I'm like, oh, I get along with you, and I feel like we can click, and we can probably go, like, watch a movie or something, or, like, you know, and it felt weird, too, at the same time, especially the first time using it. I'm like, this feels like I'm dating. Like, I have to go and then, find somebody that I feel like I can connect with, and I never really look at their photos. I more just read the bios, because that's all I care about. I don't care if you're ugly or you're pretty. I don't care. I care if you're an interesting human being that will kind of go along to who I am. And it's funny because a lot of them will put like wine all day or beer all night or wine emoji or shot, wine. Or I like going out and to the bar and having a few drinks every night or, you know, over the weekends and stuff like that. And a lot of them are just talking about drinks. And in my head, I'm like, I drink. Like, I'll dabble in some beer here and there, maybe. Same with wines, rarely with actual liquor. But nonetheless, like, I can drink, but I don't think, me personally, that's what I felt needed to go in my bio. More, I feel like bubble tea for show, coffee, yes, tea, let's get it on. Like, I don't feel like the alcohol thing is something that I felt describes me because I can live with my life without alcohol. But some of these girls, that's all they write. And in my head, I'm like, see, I don't feel like I can get along with you because as much as I can drink, I just don't have, one, enough money that I feel to splurge on liquor and stuff. But two, like, I don't know. I feel like bubble tea is more awesome than having tequila shots or like a mixed drink. Somebody might be disappointed in that, but I truly feel like bubble tea is fucking delicious. So yeah, Bumble BFF. If you've never heard of it and you need some friends or just somebody in the area to meet up with, friend-wise, Bumble BFF is literally the thing. If you want somebody to date, then Bumble has your back on that. I've never tried it, so don't quote me on that. And then, let's see, I'm kind of like almost done. So if you want to share thoughts, people, you can go right ahead. I have like 20 minutes left, so I mean, might as well fill in some space. But speaking of like wine and just liquor and alcohol in general, that was another thing that made me feel more comfortable with social interactions is being inebriated or being high. I don't do drugs. The closest drug I actually would do, and I haven't done it in like months, is smoke weed. And honestly, that's the closest it gets. But weed realistically does not make me social. It makes me obviously like even more chill than I am now, and kind of just do work better. At least in my mind, I feel like I'm more on it. So alcohol is literally the only, and alcohol technically is a drug, I feel like, because it changes your perspective of life, whatever you want to fucking call it. Anyways, nonetheless, so especially when it comes to like parties and stuff, I would always like highly want to make sure that there is like some wine that I can sip, or whatever the case might be, because especially for me, when I am pretty tipsy or drunk, I'm very social. That whole idea of like hoping that people will like me and stuff doesn't even exist anymore when I'm drunk. I'm not, or even just tipsy, honestly, or even just having like 2 glasses of wine. I feel socially more better, and that's a problem. I wouldn't say it's like I don't rely on it. So again, like I said, I don't drink often. So with that even being said, I don't ever use that as my go-to realistically. The only times I do is at social gatherings and parties, because it does make me a little bit more comfortable and at ease. It doesn't make me feel as tense and tight. And I am also a happy drunk. I am not an emotional or angry drunk. So that is also fortunate, because that would be a very, very sad story. So nonetheless, drinking also plays a huge role on my social interactions. An example, and I'm not proud of it, but it happened. And I mean, at the same time, I don't necessarily know if it worked, but it helped. So a couple years ago, I went to a party, like a house party in Detroit, and I knew like maybe 1 or 2 people, and Francis was with me, fortunately, but I knew a couple people, and I didn't know them very well, but I knew them enough to like kind of just randomly talk to them. So when we got there, Francis doesn't drink, and so I already assumed, actually no, at this moment, I think he was drinking. Yeah, he was drinking, but he wasn't drinking at all because he had to drive. So I went to this party knowing my concerns with interacting with other people. And so when it came time to it, they were talking about like, and they had like all variety of drinks, wine, beer, mostly beer, and then they made this thing called jungle juice. So we'll just like, if you already know what that is, like basically this will already kind of give you all the facts of where I stand when it comes to drinking. I didn't know what jungle juice was. I just saw her start and pour shit in a punch bowl, and I thought, oh, she just knows what she's fucking doing. She knows how to mix drinks, right? Yeah, apparently that's not the case. You just put it's like almost like a Long Island iced tea. You just throw a whole bunch of shit in a cup or bowl, and you hope it tastes good, basically. And if it doesn't taste good, then you hope you have enough drinks later on for it to not even be noticeable. Didn't know that. Didn't even understand it. But I knew as soon as I drank it, I drank it, it tasted like pink lemonade, and I'm like, this is bomb delicious. Because another part of me with drinking, and that's why I don't drink very often, is I don't like the taste, especially of liquor. I just don't like it. I had my first hangover at the age of like 16, I don't fucking know. I had my first hangover when I was young, and it was not a pretty sight, especially since it was tequila. It was definitely not a pretty sight. So ever since then, drinking really hasn't been my go-to, but except for excluding for parties. So I saw this jungle juice, and I knew Francis was going to be my DD, his designated driver, so I felt comfortable. And also when I go to parties, I don't go alone, unless like I'm out of town. That's the only time I'll go alone, but otherwise I usually know somebody that can like have my back. So we're at this party, and I just started drinking jungle juice, and at the same time, kind of timid, kind of awkward, like very scared to interact with people, so I kind of stuck with Francis and kind of just basically attached myself to him, because he's like usually my attacher. Like I just usually hang out with him the most, and I get along with him. I already know, so like it's already perfect. So get 2 to 3 cups into this jungle juice business, and I start feeling so comfortable. I go up to random strangers and just start interacting with them. Looking back on it, I'm not even sure what the fuck I was talking about. But I was talking something, and I was talking to someone that I didn't even know prior. So that uses as an example of how drinking at least can influence me in my social interactions. Of course, if you're an emotional drunk and especially an anger drunk, highly recommend you maybe not drink. But I mean, can't control everyone, so don't even. But nonetheless, so with me, happy drunk, I would go and socialize with everyone. I can't rely on that because at the same time, I can't day drink. I'm not gonna day drink in the first place, though. But like, I don't feel like I should day drink, especially like if it comes down to a meeting or going to a shoot or whatever the case might be, and especially for shoots. I remember one specific shoot in Miami when I lived in Florida. There was this photographer, and I may have mentioned this story on previous episodes, so bear with me if I have. But there was this photographer that, organized a shoot with me, and, we kind of talked about, there'll be a makeup artist, and we'll kind of just do this glamour style of shooting. So I was totally on board. Get to the location. I literally drove 3.5 hours to Miami. It was miserable. I hate that drive, but did it nonetheless. And I arrived on time, actually probably earlier than what he was aiming for, and waited in my car for the longest time. When it was finally time for me to come up, there was the makeup artist there. I'm like, cool, let's get ready, let's get going. She informs me that she's also a model. I'm like, that's interesting. Okay, I don't care. And then it starts getting to the point where the photographer decides to kill two birds with one stone and work with me and the other model makeup artist girl. So at the same time, I'm like, I mean, you didn't tell me, so that's the only concern I really have. Otherwise, they both seemed fine. But at the same time, I'm like, you should have fucking told me. So I would have scheduled on a different fucking day, but whatever. So I kind of went with it and was totally technically fine. But this girl, and it's daylight. It's literally Miami day, no fucking storms are coming. It's bright as crap, it's hot as shit. So we get to the first location. She opens the trunk to get her clothes out, and same for me. And she pulls out this bottle of vodka, I do believe, and orange juice as the chaser or the mixer. And she's like, do you want a drink? I look at her and I have my water bottle, and I'm like, I'm good. I'm sorry, but this is my job. And like any other job, I wouldn't be drinking while working. Maybe if it was an after party, let's go have some drinks after work, then yeah, I can see that being fine. But during the moment of the first look at the first shoot, doesn't really sound professional to me. So I immediately was no, and let her have all the vodka she wanted. And in my head, I'm I don't know if that's your way of being social or if that was just you wanted to get down and have a fun time. Whatever the case might be, I just completely was just nah, I'm not going to deal with that. I don't know where I was going with that story, but I went there and I felt like it was a good story to share. Otherwise, let's see if I have any other thoughts towards, oh yeah, there's also meetups, I've realized too. The stereotypical meetup.com site too. I would use meetups actually for group workshops for photographers and such, but there's meetups for just everything mostly in your city. I've personally never have dealt with meetups, at least aside from workshops, because, again, like I said, I don't do well with groups. Anything more than two people, I kind of feel a little bit more socially awkward. And so meetups kind of intimidate me because especially if there's people that already know each other, I feel a little bit more scared to approach it. And I know meetups are very open about, if they'll especially say new people come, you're welcome and stuff like that. But at the same time, I'm just very nervous to go in it all on my own. Even if I was the first person there still too, I would feel a little bit still nervous because I don't know, just something about being around other people that I don't really know and all that fun stuff just seems a little hard. But yeah, so there's meetups, there's Bumble BFF. You can just go to crash people's parties, go hang out with them. If you're like me and being inebriated is your way to being social, then, you can do it. I'm not going to be your mom and tell you not to, but definitely make sure that you use it wisely and don't get drunk for the only purpose of being social. That is not good because you need to make sure that you can be social being sober. So yeah, otherwise this is the first time I kind of finished early. I actually also, since I finished so early, I wanted to open this lovely package that Francis sent me because I've been waiting so fucking long for this. So I'm excited about this. So if you have thoughts on the friendships and like social interactions and things along those lines, feel free to just start sharing because I'm going off a crazy tangent and not looking back unless you say something. And I'm checking Twitch right now just to see if there's any Twitch users. Don't know why this is not loading. Nope, it's just me and my lonesome on Twitch. Totally fine as long as it's recording. All right. So the history with this was one of the episodes, so we're 9, 8, probably 7. Episode 7, I shared that, what's up, everyone, on Instagram. But episode 7, I do believe, I shared that I did my first auction, and I was super excited about it because it was a Goodwill auction. So I mentioned it that episode, but I'll quickly mention it now since I have 10 minutes to share. I do a lot of my shopping at thrift stores and antique places and yard sales and consignments and estate sales and just you name it that's cheap, I will be there. So anyways, I do a lot of my shopping at thrift stores, and Francis found the awesome option of Goodwill auctions. And when we lived in Austin, we knew about Goodwill auctions, but it was always in store and you could write in your bid on a piece of paper. We didn't actually know there was a website for it until he probably knew like a year ago, and I just found out like 3 months ago. So I decided, since I was renovating the kitchen, I needed to find some more interesting things. So one of the things was I needed a lot of color, and I found this awesome fucking rug. And I think the first price it was going for was like $5, and it was like this mega rug. I honestly didn't even realize how big it was gonna be until Francis found a rug that was pretty much the same size and told me, and I'm like, damn, that's gonna be fucking big. But it was this colorful rug, as you can see here. This is pretty much the rug. And so I auctioned around it, and Francis's theory was just to wait to the last 30 seconds. Wait till the last 30 seconds and then put your highest bid in and then post it. And hopefully your highest bid is the highest bid and you'll pay the second lowest price or whatever. So if my bid was $30, which it was, and somebody else bidded $25 as their highest, then basically I would pay $26 because it was towards the, that was the second highest bid, was $25, and it would be $1 more, so I'd pay $26 even though I bidded high as $30. So I did that, and I ended up winning it. So there's dog hair on this pic that's obviously used, so it's totally fine. So I ended up winning it, and I was totally excited, and I didn't know what to do, and it was literally the day of my episode, and I was running late, and everything was happening so fast, and I almost fucked it up, but I ended up winning it. And so Francis told me, though, like, oh, it's going to be expensive to actually ship it. I'm like, fuck, I don't want it to be expensive. I didn't even really want to pay $30 in the first place, but people kept, like, bidding right beforehand and getting it up to $15. I'm like, fuck y'all. Like, I just wanted to pay, like, $10 for this damn rug, but y'all are making me pay. I ended up thinking, Francis told me I paid, like, $41 for it with, like, shipping, and I'm like, you fucking, y'all fuckers. Like, I didn't want to pay that much, but it was, like, I was in the high of, like, playing it in the first time, so overall, it was fine, and I'm gonna use it. It's not gonna go to waste, but at the same time, I go to thrift stores for a reason. I don't want to pay top dollar. I know it probably would be more expensive if it was new, but nonetheless, so it's like $40 is a lot of fucking money for me. And it's a Southwestern rug, and I don't know if you're going to be able to see it because it's really huge, but I'm going to try my best. So, oops, forgot that that's, like, holding up. So, sorry. Bear with me, people. I'm excited about this. So, let's pull this away. Yeah. Okay. Ugh, I'm sweaty too. It's hot in here. Fucking, we don't have air conditioning. Okay, so it's very colorful. But one of the cool things about it is it has these like faces on it. You can't even see. You can't even see it. But it has like these faces on it. Yeah, now you can see it. And then it has this middle face, which I will try to. Oh yeah, son. Oh yeah. You can't even see. I don't even know if you can see, but you can see something, and it's awesome. And it's very colorful, and it's huge. Don't know where I'm going to put it. Don't know where it's going to go. Don't even know where it's going to fit. But it's going to be awesome. And I'm excited for it. And I love y'all too. So, yeah, everyone. If you have no thoughts to share about the friendship thing. Or any stories, honestly, too. Then I'm going to leave y'all. Because what time is it? And it's like 6 minutes early. I mean, it's my podcast. I can do whatever I want. This is stuck. Okay, there goes. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Again, if you missed it earlier, my sister will be a special guest on July 19th. That will be amazing. I hope she doesn't cancel on me. Pause for... Oh, no. Oh, no. Did that really happen? That happened. Oh, well. Well, that's the unfortunate part about it. Hopefully it is still recording. But unfortunately, my internet went out because I kicked it. So... Alright, everyone, so I'm going to call that a wrap, so hopefully this still records. I should record, so alright, everyone, until next week, hopefully y'all enjoyed it, and I will see y'all later. Bye, y'all! And bye, everyone on Twitch. Fortunately for y'all watching, or everyone on YouTube, actually, and SoundCloud. Fortunately for y'all were not live, so you didn't have to worry about the streaming stopping randomly, but... things happen and it's still recording and it will be posted on YouTube and SoundCloud shortly. So, alright everyone, bye and I'll see y'all later.